In my experience, if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. And I find it really hard to believe that Donald Trump won all 7 swing states. Now, I have a few reasons for this based on the data that's out there. First, Kamala Harris had a way better ground game. She had more money, way more money raised from grassroots, from single person donations. She had much larger crowd sizes, way bigger than Trump. The polls kept shifting in her favor, and she had the momentum. But the biggest red flag of all throughout all this was the amount of bullet ballots. These are ballots where people voted only for Donald Trump. Just him. They went in, voted for him and him alone, and submitted their ballot and didn't vote for anything else. What's off about this is that the amount is far greater than it's ever been in any previous election. Could this have happened? Yes, it's possible, but very unlikely. Now, bullet ballots are normal in elections, but they're usually like less than 0.5, 0.1%. They're usually around there. In the swing states, and only the swing states, the amount of bullet ballots is well above 1%. Some of them are 5%, some of them are 7%. This is a huge red flag. So I'm sure you're asking now, if people didn't really do this, how did it happen? Well, this is where I'm going to get into some hypotheticals. It's pure theory at this point. I have no proof of any of this right now, but this is just coming from people like Stephen Spoonamore and other people that have written duty to warn letters, notifying the officials about what they suspect happened. Yes, this is a conspiracy theory. Do I usually do these? No, but they do exist. That's why we have laws against conspiracy, conspiring to commit crimes. We have laws against that. So this could be possible. The problem is most of the conspiracy theories are wrong. They're not true, but this could be. Let me know what you think. Now let's rewind to 2020 in Colorado, when ex-county clerk Tina Peters tampered with and broke into an election system and allowed an unauthorized person to access the voting equipment. She was convicted on several charges. Now let's jump to 2022, when records, video footage, and testimony in a civil case in Georgia showed that operatives hired by Donald Trump's attorneys tampered with and broke into the state's widely used voting machines and had access to it for over several days. The evidence there shows that the operatives made copies of the software, and they shared it with other Trump allies and operatives. According to the testimony in this case, the technicians that got the software had access to it for over 3 years. They had access to the central servers, the tabulators, and the very restricted election databases. These are the databases of election systems and software and Dominion voting systems, widely used in multiple states. Now let's fast forward to the months leading up to the election. Elon Musk launches the America PAC and his petition to protect free speech and the right to bear arms. To sign this petition, you had to pledge that you are a registered voter. You just had to provide your name, mailing address, where you're registered to vote, your email and phone number, and it's just a digital signature. And then he started paying people for referrals. And then he's sending checks to people. Like, this is the guy that created PayPal, like a digital payment method, and he's sending checks? It just doesn't make any sense either. So he's getting all this data of all these people pledging the vote with the lure of winning money or getting paid. So he's got this huge giant database now of registered voters that he has at his disposal, and he could parse that information into any program I'm sure he wanted and make it easily accessible. So back to my theoretical on how this could have been pulled off. The first, most easiest way would be to just digitally hack into the election system, since someone got the software years ago and they've had it, is that they could have just electronically changed votes or added votes. The other way would be getting access to the e-poll book data, which regularly updates and sends data of who has voted. And then what they could have done is cross-referenced the data they have of pledged voters and see who has voted and who has not voted. And anyone that hadn't voted yet, they could have taken that data and electronically sent votes in their names. That's possibly what could have happened. And to me, Elon Musk seems like a very transactional person, and I don't think he would be collecting all this data from people and just giving away money if he didn't think he was going to get something out of it. And I think this is what he wanted out of it. Now, the other aspect of this that makes it very interesting is that the e-poll book data was connected to the internet. and in many cases, it was connected via Starlink. So by cross-referencing throughout the election day, their list of pledged voters against the e-poll book data of who had already voted, they could see how many votes they were short and how many they needed to win the election in Trump's favor. So the other phase of this they had to complete was to add the list of votes they're adding to the e-poll book data, and then also add that to the tabulators. And they could have done this electronically. The other way they would have had to do this would have to require physical ballots, which would require people and a lot more effort to conduct. And I don't think they did it this way, but it is potentially a possibility. Again, this is all theoretical. There's no proof of any of this right now. It's just a theory on what potentially could have happened based on these bullet ballot numbers we're seeing, and that Trump won all 7 swing states and won them without a margin of error to conduct an automatic recount. The other element to this were the bomb threats going into the precincts counting votes in the swing states. That was done possibly to break the chain of custody of the votes to be argued in court later. It could have been a distraction for someone to access the voting machines. We're not really sure. It's just all theoretical, but it does need to be investigated. The other thing I would ask of people viewing this is if you signed up for Elon Musk's petition, his America PAC petition, and you did not vote in the election, if you signed up for his petition and did not vote, check your local vote registration office or online service and see if you have a vote counted. Because if you did not go vote, if you did not send in a ballot or vote in person, and they show a vote counted for you, then that means this happened. So if anyone did not vote and signed the petition and finds that they had a vote counted, let us know. Let us know in the comments. The quickest and easiest way to find out if this happened is to do a hand recount in the areas where there were the high bullet ballot numbers. If this shows a big change in the election outcome, it should trigger a larger recount. The one thing that really must happen to resolve this and put it to bed is for Vice President Harris to demand and call for a recount. She is the only person that can do this. She has to demand the recount. That's the only way it will happen before the elections have to be certified. I call on Kamala Harris to ask for a recount. And I just want to note that Pennsylvania has been triggered to have an automatic recount due to the Senate race there being so close and within the margin of error to trigger an automatic recount. So they're going to have a recount. And I believe they recount all the elections, the president, House, Senate, all of it. So we might get an answer here pretty soon. Their recount has to be conducted and completed by the 26th. So by next week, we might know if there's a major change. And I have a feeling we're going to see something there because the Republicans have filed, I think now up to 12 lawsuits or are planning to file 12 lawsuits to prevent the recount from happening in Pennsylvania. So if they're so confident they won everything, why are they trying to stop a recount? Like, if they think it's only going to change the votes by a couple hundred, then why are they so opposed to it? Why shouldn't we make sure every vote was counted? I mean, that's where we're at now. They're really fighting to stop this recount. And that raises even more suspicion. Shit's going to hit the fan. Or the recount shows that everything is normal and as it was and as everyone voted and there's no hacking or anything like that involved, and we move on. So we'll see what happens after the Pennsylvania recount, but I'd really like to get a larger recount done in all the swing states. That's the only way to know for sure what's happened. And if Trump won fair and square and all those bullet ballots were legit and existed, congratulations to him. He's the next president and we're going to have to deal with it.